Do you love the idea of setting sticky traps as demoman but hate the fact that you have to detonate all your sticky bombs at once? Wouldn't you much rather be able to set multiple traps across the map and detonate them at your leisure to deal with opposition? Do you like the idea of playing mind games with your opponents while forcing them to cross minefields? Do you want to be able to use a sticky bomb launcher to kill people without being called a sticky spamming noob? If you said yes to any of the following, I have the guide for you. How Yinz doing? I'm Ian, and this is my TF2 Killstreak series, where we look at the best and worst TF2 has to offer and I show you how to get a killstreak with it. Because everything is a bad idea until it works. Today we'll be covering the Scottish Resistance, so without further ado, let's get into it.
Freedom!
The Scottish Resistance is an unlockable weapon in Team Fortress 2 for the Demoman, and it can be acquired from the Demoman Milestone 3 achievement. As for what this weapon does, you can fire your sticky bombs 25% faster, you increase the ammo pool relative to the stock sticky launcher by 50%, and you can have 6 more sticky bombs out in the field at any given time. You can also destroy opponents' sticky bombs by detonating your own as a way to destroy them, which is quite nice considering the Demoman doesn't really have any effective way of destroying enemy sticky bombs without this. The most interesting factor of this weapon, however, is the fact that instead of just right-clicking and detonating every single sticky you have across the map, instead you actually have to have the sticky bombs you want detonated underneath your crosshairs if you want them to detonate when you right-click. This is great if you want to set multiple sticky traps across the map in order to deal with various flank routes, not so great when you don't have time to turn around to deal with a backcapping scout. However, this weapon has one very noteworthy downside attached to it. The arm time on your sticky bombs is increased by 0.8 seconds, meaning you'll have to wait a solid second between firing your sticky bombs and being able to detonate them. This means if you try to spam sticky bombs at the opponent's feet in order to kill them in the heat of combat, you're gonna find yourself in the respawn room long before your opponent. The Quickie Bomb Launcher, this is not. If you want to be successful with this weapon, you need to use it to set traps, not spam it at your opponent's feet and right-click. Indeed, your sticky bombs need to be in position long before you right-click to kill your opponents. However, if you are afraid of needing to look down every time you want to sticky jump to a higher perch, fear not. For right-clicking also detonates all sticky bombs under your feet as well as the ones under your crosshair, meaning you can still sticky jump like you could normally with the other launchers. The downside to this, of course, is that you can still blow yourself up with your own sticky bombs by complete accident. Which, given the number of sticky bombs you can have out in the field has been increased by 6, the odds of that actually happening are much higher than with the other launchers. This weapon works best when you're able to predict your opponent's movement well in advance, hence why this weapon is effectively the meta secondary of choice for Demoman in Man vs. Machine, since the extremely predictable movement of the bots means that the drawbacks of this weapon are basically a non-issue whatsoever, similar to the Brass Beast. However, in pubs, things get a lot more tricky, since even the worst players can be difficult to predict at times, hence I recommend doing what I call the minefield tactic. By placing multiple sticky bombs across a wide area, you can effectively turn any open space into a minefield. Meaning opponents have to either gamble between whether or not you're looking in their general direction in hopes that you don't detonate the sticky bombs at their feet, or trying to carefully disarm your traps and become a sitting duck for grenade fire. And since the Scottish Resistance lets you pick and choose which sticky bombs get detonated at any given time, you don't have to worry about players tricking you into detonating your trap too early. And since you can see where your sticky bombs are through walls and don't actually need to have a direct line of sight on anyone in order to detonate them, this makes the weapon perfect for those of you trying to go for achievement hunting and trying to get those achievements where you get to taunt people in the kill cam. As to where you want to place your sticky bombs, you'll ideally want to place them in places that are out of sight of where your opponents will not be able to see them, but also in places where they're actually going to walk through, such as doorways. Something that is perfectly demonstrated involves promotional video Meet the Demoman.
How you fine dandy, so proud, so cocksure, prancing about with your head full of eyeballs. Come and get me, I say. I'll be waiting on you with a whiff of the old brimstone. I'm a grim-blooded fable with an unhappy bloody end. Oh, they're going to have to glue you back together in hell!
However, this is not always going to be a viable option since places where sticky bomb can be hidden from opponents and places where it will be in range to kill them in the first place don't always end up being one and the same. And while placing sticky bombs doesn't always get you kills, especially if you place it in more obvious locations like wide open areas in front of spawn, they do give your opponents pause, and this can be used to give you time to line up your shots with your grenade launcher or make a tactical retreat. After all, your sticky bombs fizzle into nothingness when you die, so not only do you lose your kill streak on death, but also all your carefully placed kills to be. Just remember, the Scottish Resistance requires you to be actively looking in the general direction of your traps in order to set them, so be sure not to stretch yourself too thin by trying to have 5 different traps across the maps in hopes of locking down the entire map. Instead, focus on locking down 1 or 2 flank routes that the engineer's sentry nest isn't covering. If you feel like trying to go the extra mile and be a team player, which given that you're trying to get a kill streak in Team Fortress 2 seems less than likely, you can always place a sticky trap around an engineer's nest so that if a spy tries to sap everything, you can immediately turn to look at the sentry nest and blow up the spy who just sapped everything. Assuming the spy in question isn't using the dead ringer and your engineer is still alive, this is usually a surefire way of saving your sentry nest from otherwise certain destruction. And it's important to keep those sentry nests alive, since they have dispensers that can help off your health and give you places to retreat to for when things go south. And if you want to keep a kill streak, you gotta keep yourself alive somehow, and that means keeping your teammates alive whenever possible. After all, the more meat shields you have between you and the people you're dominating, the longer it's gonna take for them to actually get a chance to get a revenge kill in the first place. I know your teammates can often be unreliable in online games, and Team Fortress 2 is no exception to this. However, in Team Fortress 2, the games are divided into 2 teams of 12, and you're never going to be able to successfully win a 12v1, realistically. Sure, a 12v2 where you have a pocket medic crit streaking you is somewhat plausible, but realistically unlikely to happen since, let's be honest here, no one plays medic. Your teammates are on your side, whether they want to be or not, so give them a little bit of faith, okay? I'm not saying to expect them to be good at the game necessarily, I'm just saying that you should assume they're going to at least try to help you out whenever the opportunity arises, rather than troll you. Yes, I know that Hoovy giving sandwiches to the other team can be quite annoying when you're trying to kill them, but it's better to have that on your team than a bot. Because at least with the Hoovy, you get to play the game, and don't just have to watch a sniper dominate the enemy team before you have a chance to react. All in all, I give the Scottish Resistance a defense out of 10. If you're trying to defend a point or keep your objectives secure, the Scottish Resistance will do you well. However, if you're constantly trying to move around the map or playing on offense and need to constantly be pushing forward, this weapon is less than ideal for your needs. That's all for now though. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you don't want to miss the next video I upload, comment what weapons you want to see me cover in the future. I've been Ian, you have been you, and this has been my TF2 How to Killstreak guide to the Scottish Resistance. And stay tuned, the backscatter is coming up next.